If you believe success comes from always being right, this story will make you uncomfortable. If you believe intelligence protects you from failure, this story will challenge you. And if you think changing your mind means weakness, then Reed Hastings' life will quietly dismantle that belief. Because the thing that built Netflix was not brilliance, it was surrender. Not the kind that quits, the kind that admits, I was wrong. Reed Hastings didn't grow up dreaming of revolutionizing entertainment. He grew up disciplined, structured, and deeply logical. He was the kind of person teachers liked, the kind of student systems reward. He went to Bowdoin College, then Stanford, then the Peace Corps. On paper, he did everything right. But life doesn't test you on paper. After returning from the Peace Corps, Reed did what ambitious, educated people often do. He started a company. It was a software business designed to help companies track problems inside their systems. Clean idea, logical product, solid execution, and it failed. Not dramatically, not with scandal. It simply died. The company burned through money. Customers didn't care enough. Momentum disappeared. Eventually, Reed had to sell it for less than it cost to build. He lost money, he lost time, and more painfully, he lost certainty. That kind of failure is dangerous for smart people, because intelligence often hides behind pride. Smart people don't like being wrong. They build explanations, they rationalize, they blame timing, the market, the users. Reed did something different. He paid attention. He noticed how his decisions affected people, how his leadership style, logical, distant, demanding, created fear instead of trust. Employees didn't speak up. Problems stayed hidden. The company collapsed quietly. And Reed realized something that would follow him for the rest of his life. Being right doesn't matter if no one feels safe telling you when you're wrong. That realization hurt, because it meant the failure wasn't just external, it was internal. Around this time, Reed experienced a moment that would later be simplified into a myth. A late fee. He rented a movie, returned it late, paid a fine, annoying, small, forgettable. Except Reed didn't forget it. Not because of the money, but because of the emotion. Guilt, irritation, a sense of being punished instead of served. He didn't immediately think, I'll build Netflix. That's not how real insight works. Instead, a question formed quietly. Why does a customer-business relationship feel adversarial? Why does convenience feel like a privilege instead of a baseline? And more importantly, why do companies cling to models that annoy customers just because they've always worked? Those questions didn't create a company. They created tension. And tension is where transformation begins. Reed partnered with Mark Randolph. They experimented. DVDs by mail, no late fees, subscriptions. At first, it looked ridiculous. Who wants discs and envelopes? Who waits days to watch a movie? Even Blockbuster laughed. They had stores, they had dominance, they had certainty. Reed had none of that. But he had something more dangerous. Doubt. Not insecurity, but intellectual humility. He knew his first company failed because he believed too strongly in his own thinking. This time, he promised himself something radical. If the data contradicted his beliefs, the beliefs would go, not the data. That promise would be tested over and over, and most people would fail it. When Netflix began, it was not bold, it was careful. Reed Hastings had learned what arrogance costs. So instead of falling in love with the idea, he fell in love with observation. Every assumption was treated as temporary. Every feature was a hypothesis. Every customer behavior was a signal, not a nuisance. This alone separated him from most founders, because most people don't fail from lack of intelligence. They fail from attachment. Attachment to the original plan. Attachment to being the one who saw it first. Attachment to not looking foolish by changing direction. Reed was embarrassed enough already. Netflix's early days were full of awkward compromises. DVDs scratched in the mail, postal delays, customers confused by queues and envelopes. The company wasn't elegant, it was fragile. And inside the team, something uncomfortable kept happening. People disagreed with Reed about pricing, about inventory, about priorities. In his first company, disagreement scared him. It felt like resistance, like inefficiency. This time, he forced himself to sit with it, not to defend, not to correct, to listen. And listening changed him. Employees started speaking honestly. Bad ideas surfaced earlier. Weak assumptions were challenged before they turned into disasters. Netflix didn't grow fast at first. It learned fast. That difference matters. Then came the first real test of humility. Streaming. The technology was immature, bandwidth was limited, content owners were skeptical, but data showed something undeniable. People didn't love DVDs. They tolerated them. What they loved was control. Watch when you want. Pause when life interrupts. No penalties. No pressure. Reed could have protected the DVD business. It was profitable, predictable, safe. Most CEOs would have, because killing what works feels insane. But Reed remembered the first failure, how protecting his ego cost him everything. So he did something that shocked even his own team. He chose to disrupt himself. He invested heavily in streaming while DVDs were still paying the bills. He allowed internal competition. He let teams cannibalize existing revenue. Wall Street didn't understand. Competitors mocked the move. Customers were confused. Netflix's stock dropped. Public criticism exploded. And Reed made another mistake. He tried to explain instead of listen. He split the DVD business, renamed it, overcomplicated the message. Customers revolted. This wasn't theoretical anymore. This was public humiliation. Reed didn't spin it. He apologized. Not the corporate kind, the real kind. He admitted the decision was poorly communicated. He reversed course. He took responsibility. That moment defined Netflix's future more than any innovation, because it proved something internally. Leadership wasn't about control. It was about correction speed. How fast can you admit you're wrong? How quickly can you adjust without collapsing? Reed built a culture around that question. No rules unless necessary. No approvals unless essential. High freedom paired with high responsibility. He believed adults don't need babysitting. They need clarity. This philosophy scared people. Freedom means accountability. No policies means no excuses. But it attracted the right kind of talent. People who didn't want safety. They wanted trust. Netflix stopped being a DVD company. It stopped being a tech company. It became a learning organization. And learning organizations don't win by being first. They win by being adaptable. Reed Hastings didn't succeed because he was smarter than everyone else. He succeeded because he was willing to look stupid sooner and recover faster. As Netflix grew, Reed Hastings became increasingly aware of a truth most leaders avoid. Scale doesn't forgive weakness. It amplifies it. The habits that barely mattered in a small company become catastrophic in a large one. And Reed knew his greatest weakness wasn't strategy. It was control. He had been trained to believe that leaders decide and others execute. That clarity comes from authority, that systems work best when tightly managed. But Netflix wasn't built on stability. It was built on change. Technology evolved too fast. Consumer behavior shifted too often. Content economics refused to stay predictable. So Reed made a decision that looked reckless to outsiders. He removed control on purpose. He eliminated vacation limits. He removed expense approvals. He stopped tracking hours. People thought he was naive. What actually happened was more uncomfortable. Mediocrity became impossible to hide. Without rules to lean on, performance stood exposed. Without policies to blame, responsibility landed where it belonged. Netflix became brutal in a quiet way. Kind but honest. Supportive but demanding. Reed believed that a team of high-performing adults with freedom would outperform any rule-bound organization. And he was right. But this philosophy came with pain. Letting people go. Often talented, hard-working people, because they were no longer the best fit. Reed described it as the hardest part of leadership. Not because of the act itself, but because of the guilt. He learned that being nice and being fair are not the same thing. Keeping someone in a role they can't win at is cruelty disguised as kindness. Netflix focused relentlessly on long-term adaptability. Then came content. At first, Netflix licensed everything, cheap catalogs, old movies, familiar shows, but data told a different story. Owning content meant control. Originals meant independence. Again, Reed faced a choice, safe growth or risky reinvention. He chose reinvention. House of Cards wasn't greenlit because of creative instinct. It was greenlit because of data. Viewing patterns, actor appeal, narrative retention. Hollywood laughed until they didn't. Suddenly, Netflix wasn't a distributor. It was a studio. And studios have enemies. Networks fought back. Regulators watched closely. Competitors rushed in. Reed didn't panic. He had already learned the most important lesson. You don't protect a position. You protect your ability to move. Netflix expanded globally. Languages diversified. Stories stopped being American-centric. Reed didn't pretend to understand every culture. He built systems that allowed local intelligence to thrive. That humility mattered Because arrogance travels poorly. Netflix wasn't perfect. It made mistakes, shows failed, decisions backfired. But the company survived because failure was allowed early. Reed Hastings didn't create a flawless organization. He created a resilient one. And resilience isn't about never being wrong. It's about never refusing to admit it. That mindset turned a mail-order DVD service into a global entertainment platform, not because Reed Hastings had vision, but because he had the courage to abandon it when reality disagreed. As Netflix conquered the world, the biggest threat wasn't competition, it was comfort. Success has a way of lying to leaders. It whispers that what worked yesterday will work tomorrow. Reed Hastings refused to listen. He believed every company has an expiration date unless it actively tries to kill its own old version. So he asked a dangerous question inside Netflix. Open quote, "If a new company were built today to destroy us, what would it look like?" Close quote. Then he pushed Netflix to become that company. When streaming became dominant, Reed didn't cling to the technology. He prepared for the next shift. Mobile-first viewing, binge culture, shorter attention spans. Netflix optimized not for prestige, but for behavior. The algorithm evolved constantly. Thumbnails were personalized. Even the artwork you see isn't random. It's engineered to stop your thumb. Critics called it soulless. Reed didn't argue. He knew emotion and data weren't enemies. Data simply reveals what emotion hides. But the hardest evolution wasn't technical, it was cultural. As Netflix grew massive, the famous culture deck became controversial. People called it cold, heartless, too corporate. Reed accepted the criticism. He never claimed Netflix culture was for everyone. He believed strong cultures repel as much as they attract. And that was intentional. Freedom without responsibility is chaos. Responsibility without freedom is suffocation. Netflix demanded both. Eventually, Reed stepped back from daily leadership, not because he was tired, but because clinging to power is how founders kill companies. He handed over control to Ted Sarandos, trusting that the system, not the individual, was strong enough. That might be his greatest achievement, building something that survives your ego. Reed Hastings' story isn't about Netflix. It's about this truth. Being wrong early is a gift. Admitting it quickly is power. Designing systems that correct you is wisdom. He didn't win because he was always right. He won because he never defended being wrong. That's the lesson, not just for business, for life.